This is Boxing Tickets, and we are delighted to be joined all the way in Spain with Dean Gonzalez Furlong. How are you, Speedy?
All good, thanks. How are you?
I am fantastic. I was just saying to you there, obviously you're a bit ahead of us in time. You've
We got
obviously
the
a bit of you've a bit of sunshine in Spain. We're obviously
It's
here in
been nice.
Belfast. We still have the bit of the cold snap, so you're ahead of us in time.
Yeah, it's an hour ahead over here. We got a bit more sun as well, so we're living it up.
Definitely, it's something you've been well used to. Dean, obviously you're now 3-0, obviously in your debut sort of years of pro. Like
Yeah,
how have you sort of found things? Like you're 3-0 with two stoppages so far. So I guess for you probably everything's probably going the way you probably envisaged it to go so far.
yeah. I couldn't have asked for it to go better. Like I turned pro in April, and we'd be looking to finish off me, like you said, my pro year with 4 fights. And if I can get another stoppage, I wouldn't be too sad about that. But if I don't, I don't. I just like I said before on the last interview, the performance is what we look for, and I've been performing.
It's like you're obviously a stunning stoppage on your debut. Obviously, then you get 4 rounds in Belfast, and then another stunning first round stoppage in
For
Waterford. Like,
yeah,
do you sort of look at it sometimes? Like, I guess everybody loves the knockouts and stuff like that. Then, but like, you sometimes you sort of look at it and you go, not to discredit sort of opponents sometimes, but you go, I want someone to give me the rounds. I want the experience of the pros rather than you
yeah,
know I remember Jason Quigley in the past telling me that I think Jason was 10-0 with 7 or 8 stoppages and he was going in. He lost that experience, but then it was found it harder to get fights. Is it that sort of fine balance sometimes between going, I want the stoppage,
we
but I want rounds?
we honestly thought the last fellow was going to go a good while in anyway, or if not the distance. He was meant to be a tough guy, but I have 4 rounds, 4 rounds already in the amateurs here in Spain. So I have 3 4 rounds and two that I stopped in the first. So we'll be looking at moving into the 6 rounds next. So maybe we can get more rounds going there as well. But the rounds do count, so that is one thing that I have to think at as well. But I can only do what I do when I get in.
Exactly. At the end of the day, I think that old saying in boxing, obviously you don't get paid for overtime in the sport, and like you have to take these victories when they come, sort of, because you know a first round stoppage. I guess it looks great for you in terms of the profile and stuff like that. People know you a punch early on. It builds the confidence to go, I can actually do damage to people when they
Yeah.
touch them.
Well, if you can do damage, I think you can go a lot further in the sport. It gets you out of trouble when you're in trouble, and it's a bonus basically to have it. And like you said, it looks good, doesn't it?
It
People like
does.
to see that. It's entertaining. So
It obviously helps with the profile. Obviously helps I guess with social media nowadays. People see the stoppages and see you
yeah,
tag and stuff, and they go, "Who's this guy?" And they're intrigued with it all. Rather than constantly doing 4 or 6 round distances and people's going, I mean, you're not knocking anybody out. You're knocking people out at the start. So as the
yeah.
competition gets as the competition gets stronger as you go on and people's punching with you, then that's when more openings are going to come and even more knockouts will happen.
Yeah, it's easier. Like when a fella, like in my second fight in Belfast, I couldn't like the guy. I think I caught him in the first round, so he knew not. He's a crafty journeyman. He knew not to open up too much because that's when you do get caught, isn't it? And it was a bit difficult to catch him clean, but I got the rounds and I was happy enough too. I thought I performed well.
What do you obviously, I guess you obviously understand that obviously journeymen are part of the sport. Like, is it sort of weird mentality wise whenever you come from the amateur ranks and people are coming to fight, then if journeymen they're sort of in a shell surviving so they can fight the next week again?
The way I look at it, like they don't come to lose; they just come to fight. And they can spoil it for you. So you always have to be on your top game. You can't go in thinking, he's a journeyman, I'm going to beat him anyway. You have to go in thinking he's an opponent. That's the way I look at it anyway. I don't know about anyone else,
Mm.
but it's been working for me. I've always come ready.
It's an important part obviously of the pro ranks because the first few fights you're still getting adjusted to
Mm.
from whether it was amateur boxing with the bigger gloves, maybe head guards, vests, and things like that, to then stripping everything back, and you're going, you can't just go on at 100 mile an hour straight away. So you need these couple of development fights to get yourself ready for bigger tests.
Course, you can't just jump into the deep end. Like maybe Olympians and all that, they try it, but it hasn't worked out for everyone either. And it goes to show you need your university a little bit basically, isn't it?
Mm. For you, I guess obviously much of your life obviously been out in Spain. Like I believe 4 years of age you moved to Spain, so you're out there about 18 years now.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm out here since I'm 3 or 4.
you've known nothing different, so you've always been used to the sunshine.
We go back every summer. Well, when I was younger, at least we'd go back every summer and visit the family. But growing up, yeah, I grew up in Spain from basically January to maybe May, and then come back in September for school. And we might get away if we're lucky back for Christmas.
So where people would obviously be here and go away for the summer, you would actually
I,
come home for the summer. You would do the opposite
yeah,
way
I
about.
do the opposite. See, August can be a bad month over here. You get to your 40 degrees, and it's not nice when you're used to it. You get
Yeah,
used to the heat and 40 degrees. It ends up being a pain.
as you well know, in Ireland would be nice with 20 degrees in the summertime. Never mind 40.
Yeah, we're unlucky with the weather, but if we had the weather, it'd be the best country in the world, wouldn't it?
But it's definitely it's a beautiful country. Um, what got you into boxing? Because your dad coached for quite a long time. Is that correct? So was it your dad that sort of got you into it, sort of putting the pads up to see what you were like? Like what got you
Yeah,
into the sport?
well, we were. He was going to gyms and coaching people when I was only 4, and I just wanted to tag along. And I've been going from since I was about 4 till I was 8, and 8 or 9 even. And it's just a fact over here in Spain, I couldn't compete till I was 16. It was just the law. So at about 9 or so, I packed it in. My dad just decided like it's just a bit when you're going from that young, you mightn't stick at it. So when I got to 16, I mightn't still be at it. It'd just be a waste of time a little bit. But then I went back to Ireland and I was in Wexford CBS, and I had a friend, Jack Dempsey. He was in the boxing club, so I went in with him, and I had the background of being able to box. So when I came back, just luckily I was 13, and they said at 14 you're allowed to box in Spain now. So it's just meant to be.
What do you make of that? Obviously, with being a bit older in Spain, like I think in Ireland, I think is it
11,
10
I
or
think.
10 or 11
Yeah.
you can start. Like, do you think it's a
Yeah.
good thing maybe a bit later? Or I guess sometimes like in any sport, the earlier you can do it, the more experience you can gain.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing about doing it when you're young is that you have that background. You have like Irish people have an amazing style, but then when you start older, you mightn't get it. I was lucky enough to have started when I was young, so I feel like I have a nice enough style. But some people that maybe they start a bit later, they struggle, so they're more fighters instead of boxers, which Spain have proved a little bit that they like to scrap more than fight than box. So maybe that has something to do with it. I'm not 100% on that.
It's a weird, it's a strange one sometimes, because boxing does take the years of experience. You can't just click your fingers and you're good at something. It's like anything. It's like golf. It's like football. It's any sport. You need that sort of build up, and I guess probably in some ways, but dropping now down to 14. Hopefully, in time, Spain will realize we're still starting these kids too late. We need to bring it
Yeah,
down. They
I
suit.
think actually there are competitions now for schoolboys, so they are coming on in that sense. Like since I started and compared to now, the Spanish amateur boxing's moved up a lot. So they're doing well. They're doing well.
Like let's face it, obviously boxing does change lives. It's like it keeps kids in the right path in life, and
Yeah,
learn to self defense and things like that as well, which is important as well. So like
teach a bit
boxing
of
obviously has a
discipline
lot of
too, isn't
positives.
it? Yeah. So it's a game changer for a lot of people. you know how to behave in on the street in public and everything. It's for me, it's the best sport in the world.
Because I totally agree. I don't think anything comes close to it. Um, when you were sort of growing up, like who did you sort of look towards, sort of as your boxers that you sort of you dreamed you wanted to be? Like obviously your Kiko Martinez there in Spain, and with obviously a
I
lot of Irish boxers and stuff like that as well. Or were you into more of a lot of the American greats?
When I was four, we used to head down the road and we train with Kiko Martinez the whole time. He's like in Spanish boxing. I don't think there's anyone better than him. Like he's achieved everything. I think he's a three-time world champion. But when it comes to look up to, I think whether people like it or not, everyone looks up to Floyd Mayweather at one stage in their life, and that's why I kind of think you'd want to be, you'd want to end up like he's the best ever in my opinion.
It, like, I guess Floyd. Some people sort of hate Floyd for the brashness. Obviously, it was so good, but he knew he was so good. He demanded a fee and things like that. And if more
Hmm.
people were sort of like him, that were able to get a lot out of the sport, because that's the problem with boxing. Sometimes is 99% of people box for peanuts. Floyd
Yeah.
Mayweather knew his worth. Got to the stage where he demanded a fee, and if there's more people like that, more people's going to earn a lot more out of the sport.
Well, he said it himself. Like he's not going to end up broke after his career. He's not going to have nothing because his belts are collecting dust. So he knew a balance. He had all the belts. You can't say he just looked for money because he had all the belts, but he did end up with a nice chunk after.
Definitely did. I think it's not, he's in that scenario now where he's sort of, he retired from boxing, obviously got to the age, but still enjoys it. So, like, he's still, I'm not sure what his fees have been like recently, but he was still demanding great fees doing exhibition fights. And, if you can get
Yeah,
to your 40s and you can still earn millions of pounds just doing an
boxing.
exhibition, it's just a
That's
sparring
mad.
day for him, really.
Yeah, sure. And compared to the opposition, he's doing the exhibitions with like they're nobodies to him in the boxing sense anyway.
He's definitely worth plenty of money now. Who would you sort of who would you sort of look to in the current sort of scheme of boxing? Like we've seen so many undisputed champions and things like that nowadays. Like who would be the one you would sort of tag alongside now?
Mm, I like Gervonta Davis a lot. I think he's brilliant. Like he's just people call him like a powerhouse, but he sets up everything. I think it's interesting to see how he's smart with setting them all up. Canelo, he's just. I think he's still one of the pound for pounds. I like Crawford, and as much as people think he's a bit boring, I do like Shakur Stevenson as well. I think he's very very skillful. So they'd be the ones I'd be looking at now when I'm trying to base myself off him.
I was going to say you can tell a lot from a boxer sometimes by the favorite fighters that they like. Obviously Tank Davis and obviously Shakur Stevenson. Obviously they've very unique styles in a way, and it probably describes you in some ways as well. Obviously very sound defensively, but you obviously like the set and time shots up. Obviously
Yeah,
big power punches, so that sort of describes you nearly that he did.
yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I'd like to think so anyway.
So I guess having your amateur career obviously just in Spain, like
Mm.
at what stage did it become a thing for you that you know you were thinking outside of obviously amateur boxing, you're thinking of the professional game? At what stage did that start to come into your mind?
When I first had my amateur fight, like my debut, I always thought I wanted to go pro. I never thought of Olympics and all that kind of. It never really appealed to me. I always wanted to go pro. So I think I've always had it in the back of my head, pro is the route I'm wanting to go with.
So was it probably for your dad? Was it probably more so of him trying to keep you grounded? They say not yet, not yet. You need this
Yeah.
experience as an amateur. You can't just go into the pro ranks and think you're a
Mm.
Floyd or a Canelo and things like that.
Of
So
course, yeah. You haven't like I had 73 fights in the amateurs, so it's enough experience when it comes because I was on the national team in Spain as well. I have the international experience. It's just the timing. When you're 19, it's hard to go pro when you're 20. It's hard to go. So my dad really he's done me a big favor and hauled me back till I was 21.
And I say you make the best of it sort of now. It's kept that fire burning. It's kept you going, and like that moment. Then obviously when you decided you're turning pro, like everybody from outside boxing always thinks that professional boxers are millionaires. Like when you turn
Yeah,
pro, like what changed for you in your mind? Like did you were like this is a dream sort of come true moment?
like on it, like it's no different. Only for you get a little bit of money with it. It's I training wise, I'm training harder because I know it's my job now. Even though I always classed it as my job, but it's the same training, a little bit extra rounds now because I'm fighting more rounds and more hill sprints. They're harder, more. Just have to be fitter. That's the basics of it. Because my style always has been suited to the pros, even in the amateurs. That's why I didn't like the high pace, the tippy tappy. I like the sitting down on a punch or countering. Sometimes you can struggle with a fast paced boxer, but all I need to do is be fitter now for the pro games and think more and plan. That's all.
So you nearly just haven't been settled and rested on what you've already done. You're now trying to
Yeah,
push your limits to a new level and sort of going, now that I'm a pro, I'm going to make sure that I do everything at 150%.
150%, 100, 200% even. If I have to do an hour in the gym, I'm doing an hour and a minute. I'm not doing any less. I'm not cutting corners. I'm wanting to do it properly.
How's things changed for you? Obviously, now you are a pro boxer in Spain. Like, are you getting people? Obviously, I guess the younger generation sort of coming through. Maybe the younger ones in the gym now, they're maybe looking up to you even though you're 3-0 and you're within your debut year. Some of these kids are looking up to you and they feel like probably you're world champion in some ways because they're now inspiring to be do you what Kiko Martinez and Floyd
Yeah.
Mayweather and Canelo were to you growing up.
In some situations, like I got a fella come into me the other day and he asked me if I was Luke's brother because he seen him on Instagram. And I was looking, I was like, yeah, I am. Yeah. So, like, you do get the recognition, but it's uh, it's depending on the situation. In Ireland, like in Wexford, is where I got more eyes on me. Over here, I've always been known as the boxer, so people don't really like just because I'm pro now. People aren't changing their eyes on it, but in Wexford now I'm getting a bit more attention.
And that's what you want, isn't it? At the end of the day, you want that gratification sometimes from people. They obviously they understand the journey you're on and they follow you along the way.
Yeah, I'm getting great backing, so I can't ask for any more. People are starting to notice me a bit more in my hometown and in Ireland and even here in Spain as well. Like I'm getting more attention. It's just you can't notice it as much as you would back home.
Like I guess it's been good for you the fact that you've obviously been able to have two fights in Ireland as well, obviously Belfast and Waterford. So like you see sometimes when someone doesn't, use Katie Taylor as an example. A lot of Katie Taylor's career was away from home, and we were lucky enough at the fact that she was so good that people still tagged
Travels,
along. You know,
yeah,
if you maybe have thought of people like John Duddy and stuff in the past that just had all their career in America, as they maybe come home, people wouldn't recognize who they are. So it's important for you to have a
I
good mix.
need to be on both sides. Like for me, Ireland is home, but like I do live here at the end of the day, so I don't want to be a nobody over here either. I do need to keep the people on their toes here.
Because they're fans of both sides.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. At the end of the day, it's Dean Gonzalez Furlong. I do have a Spanish side to me, so I do need to keep people here happy too. The promoters over here as well, they're asking my dad, can we get him on a show over here as well? My dad, he said we'll definitely fight in Spain, but my next fight we're going to look to be in Ireland anyway.
As I said, the bug's been hit now. Obviously, you boxed most of your career in Spain. So, like now, when you come back home and you're hearing people singing and chanting, maybe not even for you, maybe just for other fights that you're watching, maybe before or after,
Yeah,
you've got that bug now and you're going, let's fight as many times as we can in Ireland. We'll have the odd one in Spain.
yeah. That's it. Like you get better publicity as well in Ireland. Like Ireland boxing is massive. Like it'd be like football over here. Like over here, boxing isn't as big as a sport, so there's not as many eyes on you. But when it comes to Ireland, it's another level.
And it seems to be getting better and better. Obviously, you know, more and more shows, are happening, and you've obviously been part of them last year. Your brother, Luke, is that the one that was with you in Belfast? He's an amateur boxer at the minute, is that correct?
He's an amateur boxer at the minute, yeah. He's
Uh,
uh, he's 18. He's just come back from Poland. There, he stopped the Polish champion in his last fight. He's done really well. Happy enough with him.
so has he already got, his own plans and ambition to turn pro? Or, I think I'd said to you sort of like maybe he's looking at the blueprint of you, you know,
Yeah,
obviously you're now a pro, like it's probably starting the conversation for him to go, well, I could be the next one.
he'd uh, he's gonna get his few fights up now, but he's the same. He's always wanting to go pro. He's already ranting on about it. He's got a little bit left to go, but he will be too.
Is it sort of bring it back for you, sort of when you were going, I want to go pro, and it's like your dad was going, no, no, not yet.
Not
Now,
yet, not yet, not yet. He'll get there. He will get there. Happened for me anyway. All he has to do is stick at it. He's training hard. He's winning his fights. He just needs to get a few more in, and hopefully in a couple of years he'll be turning pro himself.
and it's great for him to see, obviously, now that you are pro, like obviously if there's anything that, where you're doing pro and you're going, oh, I wish I'd done that better. It's
Mm.
stuff you can pass on to your brother. So when it comes to his
But
chance,
like I'm still learning myself, so anything I pick up on the way, I can always advise him on in the future.
yeah, definitely is. And it's the good thing with this sport as well is everybody passes information on, particularly when it's your own family. You're even going to
Yeah.
do so more, And I guess if he can hang on to your coattails by the time he's turning pro and you're 10 or 15 and 0 and a couple of belts around your waist, people really know who he is. So it'll make it
hmm
easier for him in some ways. But in the opposite thing, might make it harder because people compare the two together.
Yeah, I mean that always happens with brothers. You always get either oh he's better, he's this, he's that. But I don't know how it'd feel once it's actually you in the situation. Like if your brother is in the situation with you, would you really care that much? Because he's the one who's kind of built the path for you, or he's the one you're getting compared to. So it's nearly like a plus. You and your brother are the ones that are getting talked about. So I don't know. I don't know how we'll feel about it. We'll have to wait till it happens.
They always say, I always remember Mick and Jamie Conlon, and sort of, I think they both sort of said that they were more nervous watching their own brother fight than they were nervous
Yeah.
about fighting themselves. Is that the same for you and Luke?
Like when he went away. That's the first time he went away without my dad. Not he went away with Portlaoise Boxing Club, and I was shaking all day because it's his first senior fight. I was like, "Oh Jesus, how's he going to get on? I hope he's going to be all right. I hope this." But he done well. He proved he's meant to be there.
It's,
So it is. Yeah, you do get nervous watching your brother fight.
I think it's because it's not something you can control, is it? Obviously, it's when you box yourself, you can control everything that you're doing. When
Yeah,
obviously it's someone else, and you're going, you can't throw the punches for them. You can shout and scream as much as you want, but there's nothing you can do for them until the fight's finished.
you're not the one in there. You don't know how they feel. You don't know if they can move back at that time. So it's all up to them. You've no control. It's nervy, all right.
I does that you sort of watch with the eyes and behind the hands, sort of just hear for the noises and hope they can get a stoppage as quickly as possible.
Yeah, that's it. Just get out of there. Like you said, you don't get paid for overtime. So get out of there as soon as. Keep everyone at calm.
I guess when we sort of look to the future, like if we're giving you a crystal ball, Dean, and sort of saying, like where does the next 12 months, where does the next 3 years, where does the next 5 years sort of lie in boxing? Have you sort of started to visualize yet, sort of where you want to go to in the sport?
I want to go all the way to the top. I'm not in it just to be recognised here in Spain, here, there, and Ireland. I want to be world level. I want to be a superstar as well, apart from getting the belts. So, however way I can build that path, I'm going to go for it.
I guess it's a dream that we all have, isn't it? Obviously, becoming a world champion, becoming a superstar.
hmm
Following the lines of Katie Taylor. Like we think of Katie Taylor's last fight on Netflix, the amount of people tuning in, the amount of money she's sort of making. Like that's what this is all for now. It's this pain and
Something
this
else. Like,
sacrifice now is for the future when when you're making the mega bucks?
Like I've got this far. That's the way I put it to myself. You've got this far. Just keep pushing. Like even if I would have put myself in this position 10 years ago, if I was looking at myself, like it's nearly unbelievable because every child that boxes wants to go pro and wants to be on the big shows and wants to go box in the arenas here and uh, wants to do everything. Hello, yeah. But I'm doing it now, so I just need to keep pushing for it.
It's like, do you sort of look back, do you sort of go, 10 years ago when you were thinking this, I'm now doing this. So like you're achieving everything that you probably set out to do and more so far. Is that how it feels for you?
Kinda, yeah. I've always wanted to go pro, and I'm doing it now, and I didn't really expect to get on the big shows I've been on, so a little bit, yeah.
Are you a sort of, do you sort of set small short-term goals, or, you know, like just to think of the way the mindset works, that you set like a 6 or 12 month goal, achieve that, move to the next one, or are you more of a bigger goal setter, or you're sort of looking at 5 years down the line?
Yeah, sure. At the start of my career, after my debut, I was always saying like I'd like 4 fights in the boxing year, and we're doing that one now. So hopefully now after I'm gonna start my next short term goal after this next fight.
And that's your year two goal, sort of. It's
Yeah,
probably making another 4 or 5 fights. Like, I guess if you were based in Ireland, probably, you know you could probably fight as much as you can. Like, obviously, I know JB Promotions done what, 6 shows last year. Like, there's the opportunity to fight as much as you want, but it's the costs involved as well. Sometimes I guess that people forget that,
yeah.
unless you
Boxing's
have
not a cheap
sponsors. And
sport. It's not a cheap sport at all. Like boxing, you need to keep you need to get like you were you gonna say about sponsors?
yeah, I was going to say, like, sponsors and things like that are a magic tree. It's filled with money. It's like you need investment in order to keep this going.
You can't if you don't sell tickets either, you can't box on these shows because you're not gonna afford it. You can have as many sponsors as you want. Boxing's not cheap. I leave it at that anyway.
Definitely, it's one of them sports. It's like golf. People thinking, being the next Rory McIlroy or Shane Lowry or Tiger Woods. Like, golf's not a cheap sport to get into. And it's the same with boxing. Like, you can't be a pro boxer, as you say, unless you can sell tickets, unless you can
Yeah,
get sponsors along the way. Like, you can have the dreams of being a world champion, but if somebody doesn't come to sponsor you, it's going to hinder your chances of getting there.
it's a setback more than anything. Like if you haven't got the backing behind you, you're not gonna be able to get as far as you could with it. It's it's not a need, but it is a big help.
Yes. And, like, just finally, obviously, then, when are you hoping to get next out? I don't want you getting into any trouble. We sort of mentioning anything, but you're hoping what you're saying there, where you're coming up to your 12 months as a pro, you're sort of hoping to be out before that or just after that.
Yeah, I'll be hoping just before my boxing year ends anyway. I, I'll I can't really say much about it. I'm not 100%, so I can't really be letting stuff out. But I've been told to keep it in mind anyway that I should be boxing before my year ends or as my year's ending.
Definitely. Anybody, Dean, obviously, like to give a shout out to, obviously, any sponsors and things like that, because, like, as we say, they're the crucial part of the sport. That helps. They help you continue to keep chasing your dreams. Anybody you'd like to give a shout out to?
I'd like to shout out Duff and Joinery in Wexford, uh, Paul Furlong for Furlong Butchers down Wexford side as well. And I have a nutritionist over here who gives me help, NutriFit Elche. So they're the three fellas that are really helping me big time.
Definitely, and hopefully, fingers crossed, someone watching this interview will go, I want to be four, I want to be five, I want to be six. And the next
Yeah,
thing you know, you get more money that you can stuff inside your boxing gloves. And obviously, you have to fight to get rid of it.
the more money, the better. I'm going to welcome anyone.
I definitely. But look, obviously, it's great to obviously finally get a good sort of chat. Obviously, I think the last one we done was about 4 minutes just after your fight, when you're
Yeah,
adrenaline and everybody wants to give you interviews. So at least we know a bit of the backstory now. But we'll look forward to obviously getting some more fight news. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we can be ringside and obviously do another post-fight interview afterwards.
Perfect. Pleasure talking to you.
You too, Dean. Enjoy the rest of your day and we'll catch up with you soon.
Right, will do. Thank you.
Take care. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.